Hi guys, welcome to our video today. Again, I'm so excited to have my first guest on my Vlogmas series where I upload a video every single day except weekends. The theme for this week is money tips, and the first person I thought of is Lynette because if you know Lynette, you know she loves to budget, she knows her money tips. So without further ado, let me hand over to you, Lynette, to introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, Belinda. Thank you for having me on, and it's great that you're doing Vlogmas. So I'm excited to be your first guest. So, my name is Lynette. I am an investor relations and sustainability expert with a background in finance and investment management. On the side, I also am a travel content creator, so that is another thing that I am passionate about. So, I'm excited to share a couple of money tips during this holiday season with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lynette. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Also follow her pages. She'll be sharing her social media handles at the end of our live today. Actually, this is a pre-recorded live, but we have taken the approach of taking it like a live. So that is why the setup is quite familiar if you've watched my lives before. If you haven't, make sure to check out my playlists. So today's topic is vacationing on a budget. So Lynette, I'll hand over to you in terms of maybe if you can just describe, just to get people who don't know you, get them to have a feel of how you usually manage your travel. So before COVID, what was your ideal holiday plan? If you were to sit down and plan, depending on, I'm sure you went on a couple of trips, but what would be your first thing to plan when you're going on holiday?
So the first thing is setting a budget. You have to know how much you're able to spend on said holiday, and that will determine, are you doing a local trip, are you doing an international trip, and are you flying, are you taking a train? It just depends on your budget. And then second, set the location. Depending on your budget, as I said, it could be local, it could be international. And before COVID, I think one of the most important differences is that there was you had the ability to plan. You could plan 3 months in advance to be able to take
Mm,
advantage of those amazing deals that would come. And therefore, you would be able to plan a lot more travel in the year. So there is something about traveling on a full-time job as well and traveling on a budget. So taking advantage of those holidays that you have during the year and making sure you maximize the time. So, for example, you can take a long Easter break, a long Christmas break, but at the same time, making sure you stick within the budget.
perfect. And then COVID happened.
COVID
The
happened.
pandemic, the panoramic happened.
Panoramic.
So how did this impact your travel plans? Did you stop traveling or what did you change when COVID happened?
Like everybody else, like the first few months of the panoramic were a little bit uncertain. So you wasn't really sure you'd make plans because there was no plans to make. We were all in lockdown. But as the
Mm,
lockdown eased, it was able to travel locally because international travel was still a little bit sketchy. People would judge you, first of all, if you were traveling internationally during the pandemic. So there were
yeah.
those factors that you had to consider. So I didn't stop traveling completely during the pandemic. I just decided to explore more of my local area. So
Mm,
on my travel page, I talk about the day trips that I took to different towns and cities. And having a day trip was important because hotels were closed, you weren't able to book an Airbnb. So being able to travel to a city, for example, 30 minutes away, see the town and come back home. First of all, also very good on the budget because you're not spending extra time and money on hotels, taxis, just a lot of things that you don't realize go into when you're traveling on a regular basis. But yeah, that's my top trip. So making sure you explore your local area because you might live somewhere for a long time but not actually see the towns that are just 20, 30 minutes away.
yeah, actually, I think the times I've realized that being the case when someone comes to visit you, and of course they want to check out the city, and then you realize, actually, I've never gone to these places that are highly ranked. When you search on Google, what are the top things to do in your city? So it's true, there are a lot of places that we don't actually check out in the places we live, when yet we spend so much money going on to another country or another city. So it's a very good point
Good.
there.
And one other thing that I did find in the months that I wasn't traveling, I really watched a lot of travel videos online. So I did a
Mm,
lot of research to be able to know what is in the area, what are things and places that people see and do. Of course, the number of things you could do was a lot limited because in as much as places were open, they weren't really open 100%. So you could maybe go see a castle, but you wouldn't be able to go in. You'd just see the outside.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's still that experience of seeing different places, which is quite exciting.
Thanks. Yeah, that's good. And moving on to the next bit, I wanted to make it a little bit fun, but at
Okay.
the same time, get your tips in between there, throw in some nuggets of wisdom in
Okay.
between there. So if we can play the this or that game, so you
All
tell
right.
me what you prefer and why.
Okay.
So would you prefer to take a flight or a train?
Ooh. I think there's such different experiences. For a long travel time, I'd say a plane, just because I'm a little bit impatient sometimes when I'm traveling somewhere. But at the same time, a train is good. For example, if you're taking journey within your country. For example, in Scotland, you can take a train from Edinburgh to the north of Scotland, and that's an amazing scenic train. And that time you're not in a hurry. You don't really you want to enjoy the scenery. So depending on what the objective of the travel is, you can do both. But
Hmm.
personally, I would pick a plane because I do love international travel. So that is that. Yeah.
And from your experience, I'm just digging deeper into that.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a price difference? So this is more applicable where a flight
Mhm.
would be relevant. So of course it's not like from here to London, because even taking a flight from here to London probably doesn't make sense. But if you're going to Edinburgh, for example, you can take a flight or you can take a train. Um, Cost-wise, have you noticed a big difference? Is there one that's actually you found to be cheaper than the other?
It's be quite surprising what my answer is because when I looked at comparing taking a train or taking a plane to Edinburgh, for example, you'd be surprised that it can't be cheaper to take a plane.
Mm,
Because taking a train on the other times it can just be, first of all, it's long, it's like a 6 4 hour train drive journey up there, but at the same time train fares are quite expensive within the UK, so you'd be really surprised that taking a train could be more expensive. But at the same time, there is a sustainability angle to it. I'm a sustainability professional. We're all here trying to minimize our carbon footprint. So it's a little bit guilty that I take a plane. But
yeah.
at the same time, it's difficult. But if you're comparing just cost wise, a plane can tend to be cheaper, especially if you look on the sites like Skyscanner looking for the deals. And trains also can be cheaper when it's that time of
And
booking during, for example, I've taken a train to Brussels for £29. You can't even get a train to Leeds for £29. So you also have to be on the lookout for deals when they come out.
cool. Thanks for that. Moving on to my second question in the this or that game. Would you prefer a full board or bed and breakfast, and why?
Different experiences for sure. If I'm on an adventure trip, I want the bed and breakfast because I want to be outside exploring the city, trying out different restaurants. I don't
Mm,
want to be stuck in the hotel if I'm on a very fun trip. However, if I'm on a spa trip, full what it is because I'm not leaving the hotel. The sole
yeah.
purpose of that vacation would be me relaxing. So it does depend on the objective of the trip as well.
And in terms of when you're going out and about, so when you're there for adventure,
Yeah,
do you go to the five-star restaurants or do you go to the local, the
local.
ones specific to that area? If you get what I mean, like the ones that you
Yeah,
get to know what kind of food those people.
authentic,
Yeah,
authentic
authentic.
cuisines.
That's what. Yeah, yeah.
So my top tip here is to have a daily budget. So one thing that I always do when I travel, regardless whether it's a local trip, an international trip, is to have the amount of money that I want to spend on that day. For example, £50. If that's your budget for the day, whether you spend that whole £50 on dinner in a five-star hotel or you
Mm,
spend the £50 and break it down, you exploring different food markets, different food stalls, it all depends that you stick to your budget because there is no point going on holiday then getting stranded because you spent all your money in the first 2 days on very
yeah.
expensive hotels. So set a daily budget and stick to it, and therefore gives you much freedom to choose where you can go. And another tip is you can decide to have one day that you're really extravagant. So the other days you can be exploring the local cuisines, and that way you're saving up that daily budget. You're not using the whole £50. For example, today you use £10, the next day you use £15. At the end of the trip, you'll be left over with a bigger budget that you can spend on that last day, and therefore you can treat yourself to an amazing five-star meal at a good restaurant.
Yeah, very good point. I never have a daily budget.
So
I
you
need
just go on holiday and do enjoyment
I
then.
just go out one day I've spent, then I realize, oh no, yesterday I spent too much money.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good point you raised there. Then my last question on this, holiday package. So
Okay.
when you go on, I'm guessing, I don't know what, maybe booking.com. No, booking.com, you wouldn't be able to get a holiday package.
On the
But you
beach.
know those sites,
On the
sites
beach side.
on the,
On
yes,
the
yes.
beach.
So would you go for that? A holiday package where your flights, trip to the hotel is included. Most of the time we usually have all inclusive on that. Would you go for a holiday package, or do you prefer booking for yourself every single part of your trip and why?
Oh, it depends on the amount of time I have, to be honest. Because sometimes when you're working full time, you don't have time to plan everything. And also the cost benefit analysis, you need to be able to see, am I booking, if I book the flight myself and then I go ahead and book the hotel and then I add the meals on top, would I be spending more money than actually taking this all inclusive deal with flights included? So I split. So if I'm doing local trips, I do that myself. More
Mm,
international trips where flights are involved, I do tend to go for packages because they do tend to be easier, first of all, less money than doing it yourself. Unless the other option is that I book a package, for example, all inclusive deal, and then I find cheaper flights myself, because it can be that sometimes the offers that the hotels are, they're kind of linked to the airline, so they maybe have a deal with them and they're not getting you the best price for that flight. So you can book the holiday package hotel only and then go on Skyscanner, search for flights, and you never know, you can actually get a longer flight, layover in a different country, explore that country on your way to your holiday
mm.
destination. So there are different
You
many
need to check.
options.
So every
Yeah,
time you do a comparison,
a
yeah.
comparison between the two of them. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's really good. And because of course we weren't trying to have a very long video, given the Vlogmas, I'm spamming people's YouTube feed, so I want to make sure
25
that I still keep them engaged. So just to conclude this video or live or
Okay.
pre-recorded live, whichever
Yeah.
you prefer, could you maybe just share three money saving tips for someone who's considering traveling this festive season?
First, set a budget. If you have no budget, you're just lost. You just end up spending money that you don't have on people that you don't need. Okay? Set a budget. Second, consider whether you actually do need to be traveling within the holiday season. It might be better that you travel after the holiday season, because there are a lot of deals just after Christmas. Because, I mean, everyone has already traveled. Flight prices will be definitely cheaper, and the hotel prices as well will decrease substantially.
Mhm.
And then third, just have fun. Remember, like when you're setting your budget, don't just limit yourself and say you have to be really, really frugal. So put money in your budget for fun activities that you do. For example, I enjoy doing like activities when I'm out. So it could either be a safari trip, it could either be doing something new within the city. So set aside money for you to actually enjoy your trip.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lynette. And
You're
if
welcome.
someone wants to engage with you after they watch this video, can they find you? Are you on Instagram, YouTube? Where can people find you?
Yes, if you'd like more financial tips, you can find me at melanin_finance. And if you want to follow my travel adventures and escapades, you can follow me at Travel Luxnor. So Luxenoir for the Luxnor part. So it's Travel Luxnor. I'm sure Belinda will link them in the description below. Some
Yeah, I
places
definitely
that you
will.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lynette. And I would love to have you back. Let's,
Thank
talk after
you.
this. Let's see what else we can talk about. But thank you so much for gracing my channel.
Thank
And
you
if you
for
haven't
having me.
subscribed yet, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Make sure to subscribe. It's free. I've had a lot of YouTubers say this. It's free, and it's the truth. It's free. But see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.
Bye.